I heard this lady speaking about there's three questions when you're overthinking or you're ruminating, and when you're having food thoughts, weight thoughts, body image, that type of things. Three questions.
Welcome to the Becoming Sound podcast, where we dive into the tough stuff and try to find the humor in the hot mess of being an adult child. Join me as we peel back the layers on growing up in dysfunction, navigating substance abuse, mental health challenges, and everything in between.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Becoming Sound podcast. This is our little series called Oversharing with Shannon. I'm Krista Zaft.
I'm Shannon.
And we are your hosts for this little series. We do this once a month. And if you're new here, welcome. We're so glad you joined us today. And don't forget to hit the follow button on whatever platform that you're on, Apple, Spotify, and you can follow us on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. It really helps to boost this podcast and the content. So on that note, we're going to get started. We are going to talk about, honestly, I don't even know what to call it. It's like food obsession, weight, dieting,
Body image.
whole body image,
Yeah.
the whole culture really, and how it has impacted our lives. And I know for me, it has really impacted my life. I didn't even write any notes today because I'm like, well, I'm a walking notebook on this stuff. So,
Yeah.
and I think it's not about if you grow up in dysfunction or alcoholism or addiction or anything like that. This affects so many women, so many young girls. It's what we see in the media all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think this has such a huge impact on the way we view ourselves, all the diets and the this and that online. We really need to talk about it. And I know that even though I have struggled a lot more in the past and I'm less hard on myself now, I still have struggles. It's still on my mind to a certain extent. And so it definitely needs to be talked about. And so we're just going to discuss kind of how it's impacted us, how maybe it impacted our early adulthood, childhood, how we grew up with some of this patterning and programming. And yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. And I think that, when you said it's not necessarily just people who grew up in houses that we grew up
Yeah.
in or whatever, but I do think that does play some kind of part.
Oh,
I think, at
yeah.
least for me, I don't want to speak
Yeah.
for you, but I definitely feel like, there's people who grew up in households where, as young girls, young women, they were empowered, they were lifted up, I guess, in terms of their confidence. And I think when you don't grow up with that, I think it's just that much harder to navigate, especially now, especially with everything that's out there on social media, and you just can't escape it. But I think that there's probably people out there, even in our generation, who maybe grew up in a healthier household. And so maybe they're not as easy targets for something like this, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a spectrum of it. It's not one size fits all when it comes to this. I think there are some girls who grew up in a very empowered household, and especially more so nowadays. You and I grew up in the 70s and 80s. Okay. That was like Jane Fonda workouts. Let's get physical.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Aerobics,
like high impact.
Yeah.
It was Atkins diet. It was Weight Watchers,
Yeah.
Pops. They were, the soup diet. Like the 70s and 80s were so bombarded with television diet culture. But I just know in my house, I remember my mom being on diets all the time, or her and her friends talking about it. I mean, I always thought my mom was beautiful, and I had a hard time correlating how she felt about herself, or maybe said things about herself. And I heard other moms talking like that too. They didn't understand at the time how much they were impacting their kids, because this wasn't talked about. Like, you didn't hear anyone saying, oh, well, you shouldn't say that in front of your kids because they're going to have body image issues.
Yeah.
None of that language existed. None of it.
Mhm.
What we heard was, I gotta, lose weight for this or lose weight for that, or I'm on this diet now, I'm on that diet now. It was kind of normal and mainstream to do that. I grew up watching my mom do that, and that's difficult, and no fault of my mom's. And she didn't grow up that way either. She was really healthy when she was younger, but I know that environment creates stress, that I grew up in. And I know, looking back now, that my mom absorbed a lot of that stress. She just had a lot going on in her life. And I can imagine food being a source of comfort.
Yeah.
And genetics also plays a factor too. I'm no doctor, but I know that our body types, like I have my mom's body type for
Sure.
sure.
Yeah.
So that plays a factor. And she just found comfort in food and when things were not so great at home. And so I think that is part of it. What I saw from my perspective and viewpoint was I saw my mom at a lot of different weights.
Mhm.
I always thought she was beautiful, and it never crossed my mind as a kid that that was a judgment. Your mom is your mom. I loved her no matter what.
Mm.
There was something that was getting planted in me. There
For
were
sure.
seeds that were getting planted to let me know that my body wasn't okay,
Yeah.
And that's not my mom's fault. That is literally a series of factors.
Yeah.
My mom was just doing what she knew in the moment and surviving her own stuff. When we watched television in the 70s and 80s, just food was like constantly, and it still is being advertised on eat this, eat that, or yeah, it's so many factors.
Mhm.
I can't even imagine what it would have been like for us to have um, social media back then.
Yeah.
It was hard enough because you know what you had? We had magazines.
Yeah.
Like we had magazines like the Teen Beat magazine.
Like Cosmopolitan,
Yeah.
like all of the supermodels that right? The
Supermodel
80s.
era.
Yeah.
They were just, and everyone's thin and
Mhm.
beautiful, and you're just seeing really unrealistic.
Yeah. Definitely some
Um,
airbrushing happening.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's kind of the culture that we grew up in, and for me, it really impacted my body image and how I saw myself. And then to compound that, there was the stuff that was going on at home. And
Mhm.
so that really takes a toll on your self-esteem, how you view yourself. It really formed my perfectionism. And let me tell you, perfectionism is kind of a key component when you're food obsessed
Yeah.
or when you are a closet eater or a constant dieter or your self-esteem, your body image is just on an all-time low. Perfectionism is like this. It's like fuel to the fire. But yeah, so that's part of my intro into the body
Yeah.
image world. How about you?
So similar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, I think because our childhoods are similar,
Yeah.
but also that view of my mom is very similar. And I can tell you almost exactly the same sort of story
Mm-hmm.
about what I saw in terms of my mom. And what it was like her talking about herself.
Mm-hmm.
The way she taught, like, oh, I've gained so much weight, or
Yeah.
looking at herself in the mirror, like getting ready. And like you said, like we think our moms are beautiful. And I thought my mom was beautiful. She was beautiful. She
Mm-hmm.
is. But I remember watching her get ready and she had like long dark hair and, she's putting her makeup on, she's getting dressed, she's standing in the mirror, and I'm just sitting on the bed watching.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just thinking, beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And then comes the, ugh, I just look at this role. I just can't,
Yeah.
right? And she's criticizing her body. She's criticizing her face. Oh, I look tired, look at these
Mm-hmm.
wrinkles and whatever. And because I was already, and not because of that necessarily, I was already had a pretty low bar in terms of my own confidence and
Mm-hmm.
self-esteem, what I thought of myself.
Yeah.
And so when I'm looking at her thinking she's beautiful, and then she's tearing herself down in front of me, I'm thinking, if you think that of you, what must you think of me?
Mm-hmm.
What must I be
Yeah.
if you're tearing that down, right? I don't think I had the words at that age to really, but that is what I felt,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so definitely that was part of it. I never ever grew up with any kind of criticism from my parents in terms of my weight, in
Yeah.
terms of what I looked like. Never criticism. My brother, I sure did, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a whole other episode, I think. But yeah, my brother, from as long as I can remember, said some pretty negative things to me
Mm-hmm.
in terms of my appearance, in terms of my
Yeah.
weight, that I was ugly, that I was,
Yeah.
whatever, lots of awful things. So I guess that idea of myself was already planted pretty
Mm-hmm.
early. And so yeah, my parents never criticize me, but what I will tell you is there was a huge importance placed on what you look like,
It's
what
wise.
you present,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So definitely was never torn down in terms of my weight or in terms
Mhm.
of how I look, but definitely it was like a lot of importance placed on being pretty
Yeah.
or looking nice or dressing the part. You know, I feel like that's even carried over now into her. When I say her, I mean my mom.
Yeah.
Like, so into still her life in
Yeah.
terms of like the way her house looks, the way she's always very put together.
Yeah.
She's very much about what she's wearing, and which is great. She always looks great. But there's so much importance placed on that.
Mhm.
So with my mom, if I'm going back in terms of where that comes from for her, she was raised in a house where she was torn down in terms of how she looked.
Yeah.
Not everybody in her house that she grew up in, but certain members of her house. And so she grew up already really torn down
Yeah.
and really thinking not much of herself and specifically her weight.
Mm.
Being told if she had gained weight, it was nobody held back at all to, hey, you look like you're gaining weight. Right. And
Yeah.
like even into adulthood, even into she's a grown woman and has kids and is still hearing that.
Yeah.
Right. And so of course, that's going to be on your mind all the time, right? My mom had very, very little confidence in herself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, looking back through that lens and seeing that woman getting herself ready, that's not her voice. That's the voice of everybody she grew up with,
Yeah.
picking herself apart, picking apart what she's wearing, picking apart how she looks or that
Yeah.
role that maybe she has or doesn't have or perceives that she has,
Mhm.
right? So I understand that now for sure. But I definitely grew up with that in my house. And then, you know, what's so interesting is that this is still a topic
Mhm.
with my mom
Yeah.
and I. But now we're at an age where I can have those conversations like this. I can be like, "What is that, mom? Like, what? Why
Mhm.
do you know? At what age do you get to put that down and not carry it
Yeah.
anymore?" You know, like I really just had that conversation not
Yeah.
long ago, and it was around the fact that, so yes, I grew up yo-yo dieting. I
Mhm.
grew up very much criticizing my weight, specifically criticizing that part. It was never good enough.
Yeah.
Going on a diet, losing weight, feeling amazing, getting all the accolades from losing the weight, then gaining the weight, and then feeling the shame because I gained the weight,
Yeah.
and then losing the weight. And it's just this constant cycle. And you and I have been through that journey together, right?
We have. Yeah.
And so, but it was more recently because I feel like probably a couple of years ago, I remember you and I shopping one day, and I remember saying to you, Krista, like, screw it. Like, I'm so
Mhm.
over this. I'm
Yeah.
so over beating myself up. I'm not going to look the same as I used
Yeah.
to look. I'm just not.
Mhm.
I'm not going to fit the same clothes I used to fit. I'm just not. That's just the reality. Now with menopause, even that much more, because no matter all the things that you used to do that worked, don't work anymore
No. No.
because your body is different now. Your hormones are different now. You've got the hormone belly that you can't friggin' get rid of,
Mhm.
right? And so, you know, I think I just at that point was just like, I am tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired of the constant battle, and I want to just love myself no matter what I look like. I just
Yeah.
want to do that, right?
Yeah.
But then recently, like in the last year, I have lost weight again.
Mhm.
But it was sort of doing something that it wasn't that I was on a diet. I'm not on a diet.
Yeah.
It was more just changing how I viewed things when I ate, timing, things like that. My
Mhm.
son and I were doing it more just in terms of what would be healthier for us.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, I get really bad heartburn at night.
Yeah.
And so I thought, you know what? If I stopped eating after dinner, I'm just going to and see if that helped. And it did help.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, weight started coming off when I realized, well, what I'm actually doing is intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
And then we sort of thought, what if we did that? Let's just see what happens. And weight started coming off, but it wasn't because I was dieting. It
Yeah.
was because I wanted to be healthier,
Yeah.
right? I
It's like
wanted to,
a mind shift. It was like a
it
mind
was a
shift.
mind
Yeah.
shift,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna bullshit. Listen, I started losing weight. I felt pretty effing good.
Yeah.
I felt good that it's like, okay, I'm doing something that's not dieting. I'm just trying to be healthier,
Mhm.
but the weight loss, man, did that pump my tires.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, why is that still such a thing for me?
I know,
Why
right?
can't I stop valuing myself based on the fact that what
Mhm.
size I'm wearing or yeah, and I really have even with the weight loss, I've been weighing myself once a month. Like I don't
Mhm.
even want it because I used to be in that mindset of like every day weighing myself. And then if I didn't go down the pound or the 2 pounds that I wanted to go down, then I'm beating myself up all day.
Yeah.
Then I'm withholding food from myself to see if I can get back on that
Yeah.
track. And I've been trying, right?
Okay, can we just talk about this specific piece of the puzzle?
Yeah.
Because I have never weighed myself every day. I have been a fitness instructor. I've been very fit. I've been thinner. I didn't grow up heavy, but the scale is I was doing it more often if I was on some sort of diet or with a trainer or doing this and I would step on it. And I honestly, I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert in this field, but I do know that women's bodies fluctuate on
Yeah.
the daily.
Daily.
So I remember having this friend who told me she would gain 9 pounds in like 2 days while she's on her period. And I'm like, 9 pounds? That's like, I mean, imagine holding 9 pounds of butter. How do you?
Yeah.
But that's how much water and fluid and one little
Yeah.
meal with salt in it can change the game for
Yeah.
tomorrow's weight. If you're stepping on the scale, you have to understand there are so many factors that go into that.
Mhm.
We have water retention, we have menstrual cycles, and at different stages, even how you sleep affects the fluctuation of your weight the next day. Like if you don't get a good enough sleep, your weight could go up.
Mm.
And that's fluid retention or stress, like your cortisol. There's so many factors that go into that. Like I feel like when I step on it, it may as well just spit out words to me. This is how you're going to feel about yourself today. Today, you're no good because you gained 2 pounds. Doesn't matter if that was water or too much salt in your food the day before. Like it is just a measurement of what kind of garbage I'm going to recycle
Totally.
in my thought patterns that day. And I stopped. I went 2 years without a scale. I threw it out.
Yeah, me
Because
too.
I was so tired of actually feeling that way. And I know that we're not alone when we say this. It is this constant barrage of thoughts in our head about how we beat ourselves up. So stepping on the scale for me now is very, very rare
Yeah.
occurrence. And I still notice that when I do, maybe to just check my weight, those thought patterns still creep
Yeah.
up, right?
It's like you step on it and you're like, almighty oracle.
Yeah.
Like, almighty
Yeah.
oracle, tell me, have I lost weight and am I a success? Or am I an
Exactly.
absolute piece of crap? And should I now binge eat all day because what's the fucking point?
Yeah,
Right?
100%. I like, yes,
Yeah.
that couldn't be more truthful.
Right.
And I know there are other women out there who struggle with
God,
this
yeah.
on the daily.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, just throw your scale out. You want a better measurement of how you're feeling and your health is find a pair of jeans that you can still get buttoned up because it honestly, if you tried them on and they're a little tight, you're probably retaining some water.
Yeah.
That's it. You haven't gained 5 pounds
Well,
of fat. You just,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So if you want a measuring tool, use a measuring tape, measure your waist circumference, put the pair of
That
jeans
number on your scale, like it just
It's-
it's all over the
yeah.
place all the time. So
Yeah.
so I did. I stopped doing
Yeah.
that kind of thing, right? Because I knew like psychologically that's not good for me and
Right.
it makes me spiral and get in a bad place. It did. It doesn't now.
Yeah.
But specifically I had to do the same thing, remove that. And the
Mhm.
only reason I was even doing it once a month was just to sort of see because I was losing weight. I was like, "Hey, where am I now?" Like
Right.
at what,
Yeah.
right?
As a tool.
As a tool,
Yeah.
but not as like a
Or a
oracle.
torture device.
As a torture device.
There is the difference.
Yeah. But okay, so back to my mom. My mom had seen me losing weight,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like every time I talked to her, she would say, "So how much have you lost now? So where are you at now? Oh my God, that's so great." Or I would see her and, "Oh my God, look at you. You are just losing." So and it was always like that's the first thing. And while it does feed that little part of me that is still like losing weight equals success equals you look good versus right.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a bigger part of me now that's just like, can we stop that?
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
can we just,
recognize that's her
I
programming,
do. And
and
so,
that is not a reflection of whatever you're doing, losing, gaining, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
That is her deeper programming.
yeah,
She can't stop, because when you don't have that awareness or the desire to
yeah.
have that awareness, it will just keep playing like a record in your
Yeah.
head. Yeah.
And like she would even do that because my son had been losing weight as well.
Hmm.
Or my daughter a couple years back had lost some weight that, she had gained over COVID and then she sort of went back to sort of what she
Yeah.
usually looks like or whatever. But again, that sort of would be my mom's way of complimenting you,
Hmm.
is complimenting you by saying, you've lost so much weight
Hmm.
or whatever. And she would do that with the kids as well. And so when I started noticing her doing that with the kids, it just really triggered a lot of memories of looking good equals perfect family,
Yeah.
right? And then I saw sort of some of the talk that was happening with me is now happening with the kids, like as if they're ornaments
Yeah.
to make it all look
Yeah.
great, right? Um, and then I had that conversation with her because she was asking me about that, and I was just kind of like, it's not really about the number, mom.
Yeah.
Like I don't weigh myself every day. Like I don't really know, but I'm trying not to focus on that
Hmm.
anymore because
Right.
I just want to feel better,
Yeah.
right? And I have
Just
been
want to be
feeling better.
healthy.
I haven't had to take the meds
Yeah.
for my GERD or whatever that is, like acid reflux, because I'm making those choices to just,
Hmm.
right? And so it's about healthy. I want to
Yeah.
be around for my kids.
Yeah.
I'm no spring chicken. I just turned 55. So did this one. And so it's like, it's more about like what I just want to be around.
Yeah,
I want to, I don't,
exactly.
you know,
And mobile,
and
right?
mobile and not, yeah. And so anyway, and then right on the heels of that, she was berating herself.
Mm,
Well, I'm not doing so good. I just stepped on the scale and I gained whatever.
yeah.
And it was literally like 5 pounds. Again, I fluctuated that between breakfast and lunch, like 5 pounds, like
Honestly, it's a big
whatever.
poop. Let's
It's a
let's
big
let's
poop.
call it what it is.
Yeah. Um, and so that's when I had that conversation with her
Yeah.
where I did broach some of this stuff, like we were just
Mhm.
saying earlier about how I saw her as a little girl, how I always thought she was so beautiful, and I still do. But I definitely internalized the talk that
Mhm.
and that's when she told me about what she grew up with and where that
Yeah.
comes from. And of course I understand that. Like you
Yeah.
grow up with it and you're going to carry it, right?
Mhm.
But I said, Mom, like whatever she like 80 or just about 80 or
Mhm.
whatever, like at what age do you get to just stop carrying that?
Mhm.
At
To
what
get,
age do you get
yeah.
to just be
Mm.
happy with how you look?
Yeah.
Because those voices in her head aren't hers,
Yeah. No, of course
right?
not.
Those
Yeah.
voices are those people she grew up with or certain people in her life. And
Yeah.
it's like, at what age do you get to take that back?
Yeah.
Like I want
Mhm.
that for her.
Yeah.
Like she's been through it, right?
Yeah.
We talk about what we grew up with and our childhoods and I try not to like vilify my parents because
Yeah. Yeah,
they
of
were
course. Me
just doing
too.
their best
Yeah,
and
exactly.
but I see that and it makes me sad because I don't
Mhm.
want to grow up with that. I don't want
No.
to be that.
I don't
I've
want to
tried
be
so
80 and beating myself up too,
no.
right? Like,
And I don't want my
oh,
kids to look back. Like I've tried so hard my whole life. Like of course I have these shitty thoughts about myself, growing up or as a young woman, with kids or in a marriage that wasn't
mhm,
so great or whatever. But I tried really hard not to ever put myself down in front of my kids.
mhm.
I know you did the same
I
thing,
tried really hard too.
right?
And I think some things leaked out for sure, because when you're obsessed with that in your own mind, and it really consumes your thought around food
Mhm.
and around what you're weighing and all this stuff, it's hard to have it not leak out without, I mean, unintentionally, right? It's
Yeah.
really hard. And I see my girls now, they're gorgeous, and I hope
Mhm.
they know how absolutely gorgeous they are,
Mhm.
and how none of that matters. What matters is how they think about themselves,
Mhm.
and to be aware of the thoughts that are going through their mind and address things that aren't serving them.
Yeah.
I heard this lady speaking about there's three questions when you're overthinking or you're ruminating, when you're having food thoughts, weight thoughts, body image, that type of things. Three
Mhm.
questions.
Mhm.
One is it true? So if you, and this is just an awareness for yourself. So just ask yourself, is it true? Is it factual? Like the sky is blue. Like ask yourself if what I'm thinking is true.
Yeah.
Number two is it helpful? Is it helping me to get to my goals, and not necessarily weight goals, but emotional goals, to feeling more peaceful? Is it helping me? Are these thoughts, is that little voice that's berating me helping me in any way?
Yeah.
And number three, is it kind? So I have to start talking to myself like I would talk to my best friend,
Yes.
because I would never say the things to you that I have said to myself.
Yes.
Never.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
never.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even, it's not even a thought process to ever say that to anyone else. So why in the hell do I say that to myself?
Mm-hmm.
So ask yourself, is it kind? You know how people used to, like, I don't know, maybe they still do, post things on the refrigerator, like, don't open this, or, like really horrible. Okay, I saw this once. It was like when you open the fridge, the little pig snorts.
Oh, or like a cow.
Yeah.
As it's opening.
Yeah. Like, okay, how horrible, how
Awful.
horrible is that?
Yeah. I'd be
And
just
we
like,
think
yeah.
it's funny. We think it's part of, like, oh, that's so funny, I'm going to get that.
Yeah.
And yet the internal program that sets is like, yeah, you little piggy, like, why are you opening the fridge for more food? Like, you
Yeah.
literally process that.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of anything like that, hopefully no one is using stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have notes on your refrigerator in encouraging you, or what you think is encouraging you to not have more food,
Mm-hmm.
put those three questions on your fridge.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of thinking about food, you're going to have to turn inwards then and find this sense of peace that you're looking
Yeah.
for, this
Yeah.
emotional peace. And that has nothing to do with food or body image or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It really is about how we're treating ourselves. So write that down on a little sticky note and stick it on your fridge. And
That's a
every
great
time you walk
idea.
by it, it's like, when you're having these thoughts, or you are going to have some more cookies or whatever the case is,
Mm-hmm.
freaking eat the
Eat
goddamn
the cookies.
Eat the cookies.
If we teach you nothing else.
Yeah, eat the cookies. And don't feel bad about it,
Yeah.
Um yeah, just put those three questions on, and it helps to keep you grounded and helps to keep you in that more peaceful state of mind. It helps you get curious about yourself and why it is you're
Yeah.
having these thoughts and why you're ruminating, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all that negativity too is sometimes it's just trauma and stuff bubbling up
Yeah.
that's like it's of no use to you.
Yeah.
And it's just having to remind yourself like this is of no use to you.
Yeah, like, is it
Right? This
helpful to
kind of
me?
talk
No.
isn't helping you. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah. So as we're talking about that, we are talking
Mhm.
about this negative talk. And sometimes that is trauma. And it's like sometimes you have to talk to her.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to talk to her because the voice is like your little
Yeah,
wounded
it's your little
person,
self.
right?
Yeah.
Who's berating you or doing whatever. And sometimes you have to, when you're having that moment of like negativity towards yourself, sometimes when you're having a moment of like anxiety even
Mhm.
or whatever, like, and I heard this, I don't even remember where I heard it. Maybe it was on your podcast. Like, I don't even know where I heard this, or if
Yeah.
it was Mel
It might have
Robbins,
been on Mel
I don't
Robbins'
know where I heard
podcast.
it,
It's
but it
third
was
party. It's like talking to yourself in the third party.
I don't know, but it was something like that. That was like that your little girl, your inner child,
Mhm.
and actually saying like, you're okay.
Mhm.
Like it's okay.
Yeah.
So like I've actually done this a couple times. I've been waking up with anxiety. I've never had anxiety attacks ever, but I've been waking up in the night with just my heart racing and just like
Mm.
all of a sudden worried about something and I don't know what I'm worried about. And so I tried this thing where I was just like, you're okay. Like it's okay.
Mhm.
You don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
You're good now. I've got you. You're
Yeah.
fine. It's like being the voice that you always needed when you were a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
Just like you're okay. You don't need that.
Reparenting.
Yeah, you don't need to go there anymore because now you're safe and
Yeah.
whatever. And I feel like what you just said, like putting those questions on your fridge, um, it's the same kind of thing. It's
Mhm.
like telling yourself like you're good. Like you don't need to talk to yourself like that anymore. Like
Yeah.
that was when you were younger, that was
Mhm.
like your coping mechanism or whatever
Yeah.
was to default to the negativity
Safety.
about
Keep you
yourself.
safe.
But yeah, you're safe now and you
Mhm.
actually don't need to talk about yourself like
Yeah.
that anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring up this point too, because we intuitively know how to eat. So when you are a baby, you know how to do two things: eat and poop.
Mhm.
Literally, there is no programming, no nothing. That
Mhm.
is instinctively your body knows when it needs food and when it needs to eliminate.
Yeah.
And there's no getting around that. As we get older, other outside influences start to change that for us. It starts to change that when you're hungry. There's schedules, there's television, there's parents, there's other kids, there's teachers.
Mhm.
The outside world comes at you about the eating, the food, the
Mhm.
habits, all that stuff.
Mhm.
But our body, if we just get quiet for a little bit and start to intuitively listen, our body will tell us what it
Yeah.
needs,
Yeah, yeah.
right? It will give us signs and signals. When I choose foods that work really well for my body, I know it. And when I choose foods that don't work well for my body's like, it will give me a sign
Mhm.
that,
Tell you this is
yeah,
not a good
this is
choice.
not a good choice for you, Krista. This is not a good choice.
Yeah.
Maybe don't have that as often. It's
Mhm.
not going to kill you, but definitely my body already knows. And
So
so if we could get back to
yeah.
just getting a little more um quiet for a minute and just
Mhm.
just asking yourself, like, what do I really feel like I need in this moment? And if you
Mhm.
really need the pizza, have the freaking pizza,
Yeah.
right? But if you need, like, just to feel good inside, then listen to that and your body will instinctively know what to eat.
So
Does that
let's
make
ta yeah,
sense?
totally. But let's talk about that other side of that, like the emotional eating,
Yes, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, "Oh, I need that ice cream though.
Yeah.
I need it."
Because the ice cream is going to push down
Yeah.
the emotion that's coming up,
Mhm.
right? And that's why we emotionally eat, is
Yeah.
because something comes up. Either we're not equipped to deal with it, we're
Mhm.
not prepared, like we just don't want to.
Mhm.
Maybe timing isn't right. Maybe we're in a situation where
Mhm.
we're not safe to express ourselves or
Mhm.
what's coming up. And so if you have any issues around food or body image, emotional eating can come
Yeah.
up. And that's what it's doing. It's like, yeah, I'm going to grab that cookie or that ice cream, and that is going to silence
Mhm.
that voice. That's going to, but it doesn't. It's a false narrative
Well,
because,
because then you're closet eating,
yeah,
and then there's the shame around the closet
yes.
eating,
And then
right?
you've built a circle that's way bigger than before,
Yeah.
right? Like this
Yeah.
cycle of beating yourself up.
Do you think that um is there like a correlation, do you think, between like if you come from a family, for example, so you come from a family where drinking, like addiction
Hmm.
or whatever. So are we picking up the torch with like the addiction, but now it's a food addiction
Oh,
or it's a shopping
yeah.
addiction or it's a sweater weather addiction or something like that? Like, are
Don't
we
do not knock our sweater
okay? I
weather
like
shopping,
sweaters,
okay?
but are we like, are we
Yes, we are.
perpetuating that?
I
Like, are
think
we?
we are, and
Yeah.
that maybe is just my personal opinion. Addictions are addictions. It doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. It can be food, it can be shopping, it can be sex, it can be gambling, it can be,
Yeah.
I mean, the spectrum is so
Mhm.
wide. But the underlying causes or reasons are the same. There is some emotional stuff going on and we
Yeah.
just don't want to address it. So
Yeah.
guess what? We use whatever medicine is
Yeah.
available to us,
Yeah.
and that is food
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
Mhm.
And because it is socially acceptable, it is an easy
Yeah.
medicine to grab.
Yeah.
You can do it in your car alone. No one's going to
Right.
see you,
Right.
right? No one is going to know. When you are the person that's going to beat yourself up and berate
Mhm.
yourself afterwards, but definitely the addiction is there, but the underlying causes, they're all the same.
Mhm.
Like, addiction is not the disease.
Mhm.
The disease is what's going on inside of us, the emotional and mental turmoil that we're in. Why do we need the medicine? What is the pain that's coming up that
Mhm.
we're trying to suppress?
Yeah.
We're so afraid to feel that pain, to address that pain, because there's stigma and shame and guilt with that as well. So,
Mhm.
yeah, have I had a food addiction? Oh,
Mhm.
1,000%.
Mhm.
I use food as medicine for
Mhm.
sure.
Mhm.
And sometimes you use it, you don't even realize you're doing it. It's this built-in
It's
mechanism.
almost even sometimes a form of self-harm, if
Yeah,
you think of it that way,
for
right?
sure.
Because it's like, it's not good for you.
Yeah.
It's not good for you physically. It's not, you're just going to shame yourself after,
Yeah.
but you do it anyway
Yeah.
because it feeds something in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then you spiral after,
Yeah.
you know?
Food addiction as well can
Mhm.
cause the same kind of problems in your relationships, your personal life, how
Yeah.
you feel about yourself, your work. Like it
Yeah.
can affect your work performance and how you show up at work when you feel ill
Yeah.
or when you are just not able to get around or when you are feel so emotionally drained inside because of maybe a food addiction. It is controlling your life. It is controlling everything. And I listened to this lady talk on a podcast. I think her name is Kelly. Anyways, she had said something about you know, the perfectionist part for me that I wanted to get into. This kind of plays into it. So the perfectionist, I think, shows up in all areas of my life, and food is one of them. How I think about myself is one of them. And maybe, and your mom had this suffering from this as well. It's like you're trying to create this perfect scenario because you don't want to see anyone to see the mess that you are inside. A, you might not know how to deal with the mess inside, and so you don't know how to address it. Or B, you just don't want to. You just, you're there's so much shame there. There's so much guilt. You just can't bring yourself to do that. But that perfectionist is in all parts of my life. When I get up in the morning and I make my bed and the pillows have to be just a certain way,
Yeah.
or I don't want to leave dishes in the sink because that makes me mentally not okay. In the morning I wake up and I used to have this thing. So I'm way more relaxed than I used to be. But I remember I always had to sweep the floor before I went to bed because it drove me crazy if I could feel like breadcrumbs on the floor or something touched my bare feet, like a little OCD for that. But that is not part of my life anymore. I have really, like, through therapy and coaches and just this healing process has brought me to a place where I'm like so much more chill about the perfectionism doesn't run my entire life, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just little pieces.
Yeah.
But that shows up in how I think about food. Or what I think about myself when I overeat. Yes.
You're
And
not
now
gonna
all of a
look
sudden,
perfect and
yeah, and not necessarily just to the outside world, but
Yeah.
even to myself. I'm
Yeah.
busy judging myself, right?
Yeah.
And so the perfectionist tendencies or characteristics that you have, it definitely plays a part in all aspects of your life. And that might be driving a little bit of the food obsession,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so if you're willing to look at that, like I am doing right now in therapy and just looking at those parts of my life and really learning to have some compassion for myself, some like just give myself a little break and grace. Like you said, it's like, when do we just get to like hang that freaking belt up and never use it again? Like yeah. And I'm learning that right now is like, I'm getting to that point in my life where I'm like, I'm just done. I'm on top of that menopause, which is a whole nother whole nother episode.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you that wreaks havoc on your body and then it becomes out of your control. And now I'm thinking, damn, when I had control over it, I was messing it up. And now something else is taking control and I really don't have a part in it. You really have to just surrender.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning to surrender.
I think a part
every
of it is
day.
just our age, Krista, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, I think it's just you get to an age, probably like once I turned 50, I think,
Yeah.
is when I was just like, screw
Fuck it.
this. Like, fuck it. Like, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of being mean to myself.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of just accepting behaviors from people or, that or my own behaviors. I'm so tired of like that behavior kind of running my show. Like, I need to just be kinder with myself. I need to put down my whatever this shit is that I'm carrying around that's making me react. And feel like it's all encompassing. All the stuff we've talked about up
Yeah.
until now,
Yeah.
it's all part of the same thing, which is like
Mhm.
you get to an age or you get to a place in your life, it doesn't have to be an age, where you just
Yeah.
completely accept. And like it all starts with self-love. If you
For
love
sure.
yourself, you're not going to be harming yourself with, the overeating or whatever, but also you're not going to be berating yourself because you want a fucking cookie.
Yeah.
Have the
I
cookie,
know.
right? Like just love
Oh, yeah.
yourself. And
Yeah.
like when you do that, everything else just like falls into place,
Yeah, the self-love and the self-care, and it's something that I teach in my coaching too, and I'm just a huge advocate for learning how to just love who you are and be okay with the skin that you're in,
Yeah.
and dive in and investigate a few of those parts of you and ask why and where does that come from. And awareness is huge. So once you start learning a little
Yeah.
bit about that, learning your patterns and recognizing things that you do, you're able to ask yourself better
Yeah.
questions. You're able to get curious about yourself. And then this door opens up and you allow more of that self-love in. You allow that grace and that compassion for yourself.
Yeah.
So it is not an easy thing, by no means, but it is possible. And if you want to learn more about that and you're ready to kind of take those next steps for yourself, go onto my website and book a strategy call. I'd love to talk about this.
Mhm.
It's something I'm so passionate about.
Yeah.
And I still have my struggles too, and that's okay. Like, it is okay to not be okay, people. I can't
Yeah.
say that enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just can't say that enough. And I love my body more now than I
Mhm.
ever used to.
Me too. I'm so
I
much more appreciative of it, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
I am. Like I know I'm not I know that, like come on.
yeah,
But I'm so much more appreciative of my
yeah,
health,
mhm,
of, like where I'm at this age, like that we're
yeah.
55, Krista.
I know, right?
Like we're 55.
Special number, by the way, 55.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, there's
Okay,
some
all I
angel
think of
numbers
is
there.
angel numbers.
Yeah.
All I think of is like the commercials when we were younger, like Freedom 55, right? So it's like insurance for the elderly. And now it's like, wait, I'm 55.
Yeah.
Like what? But it's a different Freedom 55, man.
Honestly, I
It's a
think that
freedom to just,
that's right. It
it's
has
a
a
different
way
kind
deeper
of freedom.
meaning.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, totally. Freedom is the name of the game. And I I really want women younger to start embracing this. Don't
Totally.
wait
Don't
until
wait
you're
until you're,
55.
yeah.
Like, really just love this vessel that you've been given,
Yeah.
right? And because that's what it is. Like, you only got one. Like,
Mhm.
and I think when you get to our age, you start thinking exactly what you said before, was like, I'm just more concerned now about my health
Yeah.
because I want to be mobile, I want to be active, I want to be around for a long
I want to
time.
be around for my kids to have
Yeah.
kids to have kids. Like I want,
Exactly. Like, I want to see my grandkids grow up and I want to be able to play with them. And
yeah.
your reasons for wanting to be healthy become completely different.
It's not about like I want to look a certain way so that
Yeah.
for my Instagram page or for my,
Yeah,
right? Like it's
exactly.
not about like what you portray to other people
Yeah.
anymore. It's about like how do you feel and are you
Yeah.
going to be able to be present?
Yeah.
And like when you're talking shit about yourself, like stop and be like, "Hey, you don't talk about my friend like that."
Yeah. Exactly. You don't talk
Right?
about
You
my
don't
friend
talk
like
about my
that.
friend like that. Like she's pretty friggin' cool and
Yeah.
like whatever.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So please. We probably missed like
Yeah.
3/4 of the stuff we wanted
I
to
know
talk
we always go
about,
off
but
on tangents,
we
but
do. But in all honesty, the message is that you only have one body. And it is such a gift to be here to experience the things that you experience. I'm starting to show up in my life and online just as I am, like
yeah,
who I am in the body that I
authentic.
have.
Yeah.
And I'm good with it. I'm good with it. I do question the bags under my eyes sometimes in the
Stop. Hey,
morning,
you don't talk
but
about my friend like that.
exactly.
Your eyes look great.
But you know what? There is such a freedom that comes with acceptance and
Yeah.
loving yourself and I think honestly just have way more fun.
Yeah.
So that's what I want for everyone else is just to love yourself. And if you need help with that, like stay tuned because we will have more of this learning to
Yeah.
love yourself stuff on here. And yeah, go on my website. There's some free resources on there if you want to learn about self-care, if you want to learn just how to get started even, there's definitely some free stuff. So get on there and grab that stuff. And Yeah. I love it that we just have these open conversations.
Me too.
We didn't even know what we were going to
No,
really
we
talk
didn't.
about or how we were going to address it, but we live it every day. And so
Yeah.
I think the best message is just to explain that you're not alone, that
Yeah.
we go through this all the time and we still are, and we're getting better at it. And yeah, we're learning to love ourselves and as much as we love each other.
Yeah.
And so that's the main point, right?
Okay, one more thing.
Okay.
Why is it at the end of every other interview that you do, you're always like, so is there anything you want to plug? Is there anything that you're doing right now? How come you never do that for me?
I don't know. Is there anything you want to plug?
I'm watching a lot of really good Netflix.
Okay, awesome.
Lots of true crime.
Every time I want to know what to watch, I call Shannon. I'm like, what are you watching right now?
Oh God.
Every
So funny.
time.
I'm actually glad you don't ask me that because I'd be like, got nothing.
No, you know what? The last one I asked you was Fleabag. So good on Netflix. I loved it. I couldn't
Isn't
stop
it
watching.
good? I know.
It was so
It's
good.
a good one.
Yeah.
Anyways,
It's really good.
otherwise I
Anything
have
else you
nothing.
want to plug?
Nothing else. But thanks for coming.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We are always excited to have you here, and that you are spending time with us is so awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, on that note, we're going to peace out. We're not shopping today, by the way.
Oh,
we don't
aren't?
do that every month.
Oh, darn it.
No.
Okay. Okay, bye.
Have an awesome day, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you for joining me today on another episode of Becoming Sound. If this episode resonated with you in some way, please share it with someone you care about. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It helps to get this information out to more people who may need it. If you have a sec, I would love a follow on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. While you're there, hit the 5-star rating and give me a review. When you're scrolling, follow me on my social platforms, and I would love to hear your comments and feedback. Have a fabulous day, lots of love and gratitude from me. Please note, the views, information, and opinions expressed during the Becoming Sound podcast series are solely those of the individuals involved. The content of this podcast is to educate, inform, and for entertainment purposes only. This podcast series and the content presented does not constitute for medical or other professional advice or services. If you are in crisis or in need of help, please contact your medical or professional provider.